All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another Friday Mastermind. We got the whole crew here again. Mr. Todd Bookspan, what's up, my brother?
It is an exciting day. I was in a stadium with 50,000 people yesterday watching the Diamondbacks play the Phillies. Super exciting. Local team won it in the ninth inning. And it really just made me think about the industry that we're in, right? I think a lot of people, it was kind of a boring game. It was 0-0, 0-0, for most of the game. And I think that's how people are feeling about this year. And, here we're in the fourth quarter, right? It's game time and it's time to take action. And it was just kind of fun to see the teams take action at the end and have a positive outcome. So that's my analogy of the day for all of you. I want us all to go out there and kick some ass. So my voice is hoarse from that. Deborah Bird's voice is hoarse because she's under the weather. What's up, Deborah?
Hello. Can't believe you brought up the baseball games because the Rangers lost yesterday. So I'm still pulling for the Texas Rangers. Wow. And I would say kind of my theme for this quarter is how to market on offense. Like we can't keep running the same plays that we ran back in 2021 to today. Yep. It's just not going to work. And so the market should always dictate your marketing. And that's what makes me super excited about our special guest today, Keith Collins, because I know he's been brewing up some content and he's a content machine. We also got to spend some good quality time a couple weeks ago together. Yeah. And I don't know if he likes me more or less after that time together. I think he learned how much more of a smart aleck I am, but I'm excited for today's call as I really think it's going to help a lot of you who are trying to get the attention of more real estate agents. And, Keith has only been in his market center for what, 2 years? Is that right, Keith?
2 years, yeah. And to be fair, I've honestly only been marketing it for like probably a year because I was running off refinances for a good period of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what you mean. The industry knows what you mean. So here's how I want to frame the call. I was at Housing Wire last week. I was at the NBA annual this week. So I've met with just countless CEOs, heads of production. And one mortgage leader at Housing Wire at a breakfast said to me that, he goes, speaking in his words, myself included, every loan officer, mortgage executives were really good downhill runners. Like my entire career, rates have, gone down and we know how to run downhill really fast and we're good downhill runners. But in today's market, and he goes, and going forward in the mortgage space, it's uphill. Like 63% of mortgages are under 2% or 3%. And being a good uphill runner takes a different mentality. It takes a different skills. It takes a different level of conditioning. Today's call, we're going to focus on how to get the attention of realtors in today's market and how Keith Collins is doing that. But guys, there's new skills, like how you got the attention of realtors in a downhill market is different than how you get the attention and get value from realtors in this market. So with that said, Keith Collins, welcome to another session with the Mortgage Coach Trust Engine community.
Thanks, y'all. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, I guess to compound on that and just to really get into it, I lead a regional loan officers as well. And there's a thing that I've heard a few times, especially recently, and it's just like, I'm not a salesperson. And I think it's a slippery slope to say that in 2023 as a loan officer. I think, and I can understand them saying like, I'm not a salesperson, and they're kind of, overlapping that with like a sleazy salesperson. But if you're not actively selling in today's market, I don't know if you're going to be around in 2024, but the selling looks a lot different. And I posted a video yesterday from Ryan Searhunt and about like the 20-second mark, it's pure gold, but his whole premise is, he's hearing people say like, we're gonna need to go make money. And he says, the money's already been made. It's already been printed. It's already out there. Your job is to go get it. And the amount of money you're going to get is directly related to the value that you bring to the market. But the market doesn't know the value you bring unless you go tell them. Now we can do this through social media, right? But we also need to pick up the phone and sell to the real estate agent community and whoever your target audience is, the value that you actually bring. So if you're not actively in sales and selling today, I'm concerned. And so that's where I think we lead into this is what are we doing? What am I doing to sell myself, I guess, in this market? Like we got to get on the phone and get after it because it's a market share game today. That's what it is. It's a market share game and we need to think differently about it.
Yeah. Well, you picked this headline, how to get the attention of realtors in this market. And, you know, we also had this headline of first-time home buyer strategies and house hacking, which I think are tactics, you know, to get the attention of realtors in this market. Why don't you, and remember guys, this is a mastermind. So everyone watching this live, whether you're watching it in Facebook, YouTube, if you're watching this on our, live would be our Zoom community, ask questions, give us feedback. For those of you in the Zoom community, use those little reactions, give us a little thumbs up, make sure you know how to do that. And then if you watch this on YouTube, feel free to ask questions and make comments. So Keith, walk us through what you're doing. Like, what are your tactics and strategies, bro?
Yeah, so Deborah actually posted this probably 6 months ago, and I've probably said it 100 times since. And it was something to the effect of marketing is a battle of perception, not reality. Marketing is a battle of perception, reality. And then it goes on to say, you know, that is why new loan officers are taking market share from experienced loan officers by posting 2 or 3 times a day. And so, you know, you have to understand, I've been on a large branding campaign for the last year and a half here in Nashville to get awareness from these real estate agents, right? So I'm not just picking up a phone and calling somebody that probably doesn't have a good idea who I am. We've DM'd, I've commented, I've been following them, I've been engaging with them, I've been sending text messages and, you know, showing up in different places. And so it's not necessarily a cold call, but so it's a warm call that I've used through social media, but social media gets you to a certain place, and then the selling tactics have to get you to that next place to close it and bring them on board. And so there's kind of 2 things that we can talk about here and then roll into, I guess, the house hacking strategies, which I think are really unique as it relates to today, really affordability and helping families. But the riches are in the niches, right? So in 2020, 2021, when you were calling a real estate agent and you were telling them, you know, about a strategy that maybe could get them an extra 2 transactions a year, but it would be related to a home loan that maybe would never get accepted, like a VA loan or a USDA loan or reverse, or, you know, one of those things that they just kind of laughed at you because one, they had, you know, more transactions coming out of their, you know, whatever, and they didn't need the new transactions. They didn't have to work that hard to get them. And so the riches and the niches wasn't something that you led with in 2020 and 2021. But today, calling a real estate agent and saying, hey, I can find you 2 more transactions by thinking differently about how we can help people. Those are 2 transactions that they might not have today. And so I think that's one of the big things that we need to lead with is a niche. Whatever niche that you have, find it. And it's the good agents are working with a good loan officer. And they probably have some sort of loyalty right now. And so it's really hard for you to be one of the 50 real loan officers that's calling that one real estate agent and saying, send me a business. Whereas if you show up in a space and talk about something that maybe their loan officer is not actually talking about, like VA home loans, reverse mortgages, renovation financing, house hacking strategies, you know, whatever it is, you are all of a sudden are the person that they believe to be an expert in that situation. Like you could literally appear as a loan officer that's never done a VA transaction by talking about it all the time to be more experienced than the #1 VA loan officer in America, just because you're talking about it all the time. And then it makes that real estate agent not feel like they're cheating on their existing relationship by just saying, hey, look, he's talking about VA home loans all the time. He appears to be the expert. My guy doesn't ever talk about this stuff. So, you know, these VA transactions that come across the desk, I'll just go ahead and send those over to him. And then we win with everything else that we do to hopefully get the rest of the business, right? And so that's where I think leading with niches really wins in this market, because real estate agents are open to trying to find 2 extra transactions.
So let's do and just kind of list out, go through a little round of brainstorming, community, play along. So Keith, you mentioned VA is a niche,
Yep.
Be the VA expert. You mentioned house hacking. So, you know, be the best at helping someone who wants to have an owner occ leverage other sources of income to achieve homeownership.
Yep.
What are some other niches in this market? And then Todd and Deb, be ready for you guys to throw in anything that you think Keith misses here. List off some other ones, bro.
Yeah. So when I tell an agent, I actually have a slide that I have in every presentation. It's when to think about Keith. So anytime I'm doing a presentation with a real estate agent, I always make sure I tell them when to think about me. And so for me, you know, my niche has been out here in Nashville is relocation. There's no loan officer in Middle Tennessee better suited to help your California relocations than myself. I'm an 18-year veteran, as hungry as a rookie, and I just relocated. So I can empathize with your customers in a way that most loan officers can't. So just send me your California relocations. And so that's the niche that I'm leading with here, right? That's my primary niche. So think of me as your relocations.
Hey,
VA.
time
My company.
time out.
Yeah,
Time
go for
out.
it.
I want everybody, if you're watching the recording of this, put it on pause right now. Go back and listen to that again. There was just a collection of magic words that told a story, created a unique need, created a lot of positive energy that I like this guy and I want to do business with this guy. So go back and re-listen to that, and then think, like, what is your primary niche? And do you have a magical collection of words like that to describe it? Todd, did you want to add anything before we let
Well,
Keith
I mean,
keep?
my head, I was blown away because again, we're all thinking niches like VA reverse 203K DSCR loans, right? We're thinking the products that everyone else is leading with. And Keith just took a total 180 and went a different direction with something that nobody else can say there, that he has that unique experience. And it's not a loan product. It's not his company. It's not anything else other than the fact of who he is and what his experience is. And you all have something like that. You just have to decide what it is, and then you need to stand on it just like he did.
Well, and I love that you have a document or a slide that you leave with your agents of when to think about Keith. And so that would be my takeaway for all of you listening is, do you have a clear, either one page or slide or even your own vision of when your agent should think of you based off that niche, and write that out and give it to them.
Yeah. So keep listing ideas, Keith. I want to get a bunch of ideas out, and then we'll drill down on your playbook.
Yeah, as it relates to niche, it really fits into the Nashville market just because there's a lot of people relocating from California. So that's an easy one, right? But there's also a lot of condo loans in the market. My company happens to be the #1 condo lender in America. So I'm going to lead with that. And a lot of loan officers don't lead with condos. The next one being jumbo home loans. You just find a lot of lenders just steer away from jumbo home loans. And it's crazy to say, like, $1 potentially gets you a better interest rate on a home loan, because it's a jumbo loan can be a better rate than a conforming high balance loan. So leading with jumbo financing, if the market, has a lot of jumbo business, which mine does. And then for me, reverse. And really, it really like blew my mind when we were talking over at Be Wealthy about just some of the niches associated with reverse. We have a lot of cash purchases here. But like, did you know in a reverse transaction that you, instead of paying cash, why not buy $1 million home, do a $400,000 reverse mortgage, then pay it off? But then it converts to a line of credit that grows at a rate of the mortgage, 7.5% a year. And in 10 years, that $400,000 line of credit is now like $800,000-$900,000. So there's just unique niches that you can lead with. But here's what happens. This is what's really cool. When you start leading with these niches and you start bringing up these ideas that maybe other people aren't talking about, now all of a sudden the agents start thinking, gosh, this guy, this gal, like, they really think about things differently. There's might be more opportunity working with this person than the other person, not just because of the niches, but because they are looking for ways to service our customers in ways that other people aren't. And so that again, so for me, relocations, condos, we have to talk about VA home loans, super passionate about those. Second mortgages, because it's a niche, we've got a good product for it. Jumbo home loans and down payment assistance. So those are mine. I've got a slide for it, but those are my niches that I'm constantly leading with: relocations, condo, VA, second, jumbo, down payment assistance.
All right, guys. So what are some other niches? I've seen a lot of social media around some of the new guidelines that are making it, easier for first-time home buyers to buy units and properties with EDU. That is a type of niche. What else, Todd, Deborah, anything else that you want to throw on?
I think
the pile?
investors, right? I think investor niche is unique, right? Keith mentioned Be Wealthy. That's the wealth building group that Deborah, Keith, Denise, Shayla, Josh, a bunch of us are part of. And I think that if you become an expert, especially if you own property yourself, that differentiates you, because a lot of loan officers don't own a home, let alone own investment properties. And so there's still people in my market who literally own mortgage companies. They have someone in their office, but they still send my team their investment transactions because they know that we're experts in investment property because we own investment properties. And so you'll get business like that if you get known for that, because they want to make sure that their clients are taken care of. So I think that's a great one, especially as we go into the market next year and people are going to want to move and want to keep their current primary with a 3% loan as a rental. And so I think that would be a good niche to start conversations around now.
Yeah.
Well, and this one's not necessarily new, but a lot of so Wednesdays is kind of our theme day where clients will go to Redfin. In case you guys didn't know this, you can click on the buyer tab and you can do a sort of recently, like in the last 7 days, any homes that had price reductions. And so we're kind of going like sniper hunting, and we are doing the TCA, either 2-1 buy down or showing how a rate drop versus price drop, and proactively reaching out to the listing agent, educating them. And we partner with lender marketing platform to do this. Like every Wednesday, it's a non-negotiable that you're pulling up Redfin, you're looking at price reductions. And right now, this is the time of year where you see more price reductions than, in other seasons. So it's a great time to, go hunting, guys, and go after those listing agents who need your help.
It's an awesome time to go hunting.
Yeah, no,
Well,
it's never been a better time to recruit realtors.
Yep.
And one of the Todd, you wanted to throw something in.
Well, you just said it. We got to go hunting. It's a better time to realtor. So I surveyed about 35 agents yesterday in the Phoenix market that were anywhere from agents that I would view as part-time agents to freaking rock stars, the #1 agent in the market. And the crazy part is that it's crickets. They said it's crickets. None of them told me. One guy just responded to it this morning. He said 0.25. I said 25. That's amazing. Like, I was shocked. He said 25. He's like, no, you missed the point. It's 0.25 loan officers a week. He's getting 1 loan officer a month that's calling him. And what I was blown away by was how many people said it was email. Well, yeah, I'm getting emailed by agents. I'm like, well, that's not, or by loan officers. That's not what I'm talking about. And then they said, oh yeah, and I get the same email from 3 to 5 loan officers at the same company, their canned email. And then they say, yeah, I get some text. One guy said he got a book, which I love, the book and the letter thing. And he said, and then the loan officer never called me. I'm like, what the hell? I mean, I didn't know what else to say. Like, I mean, come on, people. They are saying nobody is calling them. Nobody. I mean, literally, it was like big agents, like 1 a week. And so I think there's an opportunity, but you have to do what Keith talked about and what Deborah teaches. You got to build relationship first. You've got to show up somewhere. You got to put yourself in the path of opportunity where you're going to have a reason to call them. But I mean, the bottom line is you got to call people. I mean, I'm just telling you, it's a little bit weird. So we had 45 agents in our office October 3rd, so a couple weeks ago. And one of the agents pulled me aside and she's like, oh, Todd, like, tell me about, you and your team. And then she really told me first, right off in the very beginning, not only did she have 1 amazing loan officer, she had 2.5 amazing loan officers. The half loan officer teaches classes with her, but her other 2 loan officers are amazing. One of them was one of her mentors. And then we talked for 45 minutes. And then guess what? Even though they're amazing, and she told me she loved me and would never send my team business, she sent our team a lead that week. And then she invited our team to be the new person that presents with her when she does her first-time homebuyer seminars. Put yourself in the path of opportunity. It's not that difficult, but you actually have to pick up the phone. It's not a text. It's not a DM to get the meeting. You can start there. You can do a little dating, but I was blown away. There's nobody who told me they're getting hammered a lot right now.
So
perfect.
So
wide open. So let me hit the playbook. Want me to give the playbook then right now for that?
Let's do it.
Well, before we do that, I want to make one more point. This was a post that I saw on social media this week by Dan Keller. Did anybody see this post from Dan?
Yeah, really good.
So I just want to take a minute here. And while, Dan's funny, he's got his daughter on his lap. Dad, what did you do when rates were, when everyone was too scared to buy? And he's like, I showed them a 5-year net worth report. So guys, interest rates suck and they've gotten even worse. I mean, they're almost at 8. So as a loan officer, if you think your product is interest rates and mortgages, you're not going to have the confidence, you're not going to be excited. But if you think your product is your ability to help consumers make, great decisions today that serve their long-term interests, you know what? You've got something unique and valuable to share. So, everyone in this community, regardless of what niche you pick, the ability, like literally going forward, this is going to be one of the top, call it uphill runners, a skill of uphill runners, is they're able to go and show, the 5-year net worth report. Like, we need to sell building wealth with real estate, whether we're helping a family that's buying their personal residence and they barely qualify. Like, we got to show them the 5-year vision. If it's someone that's thinking about listing or not listing, like if it's a first-time home buyer, we've got to sell the long-term value of real estate. So Keith, with that said, any comments to that? And then let's get into, you know, some specific lessons that you want to teach today.
No, I mean, I think what he did was genius. I mean, he sets himself apart. It's humorous. There's engagement there. I just love it when someone says effing legend, like that just cracks me up. So it was great. I loved it. I thought it was an awesome post, but I mean, there's information to it, but you know, Dan shows up on a consistent basis. Bill Hart said this, you got to be predictable, right? And being predictable on social media is, you know, you got to pick up the phone 2 to 3 times a day and get into your stories, and you got to be posting, you know, 2-3 times a week, some content that actually adds value to your sphere. And if you do that, you will show up in such a way that people will see. Like, you can literally be closing 1 transaction a month, but talk about it like 7 times. People are gonna think you closed 6-7 transactions, right? Like that's the power of social media. Not to say that we lie or, you know, or you know, tell people we're doing things that we're not, but like, you can show up in that way that the perception is something that is different than it is. So the playbook here, like this is what I'm doing right now with real estate agents, and I can hit this, and then I can say what I'm doing when I'm calling, and then how I'm teaching it. But so for me, there's an app called Reach. It's a texting app. I love it. Works really well for me. What's cool is you can set up different playlists, if you will. So, you know, different groups of realtors that you text. But every Saturday morning, over 200 realtors get a text from me saying, "I'm the weekend warrior. We're available for your pre-approvals." And then there's something specific like a tip or things. So every Saturday morning, I'm available, either myself or my team, right? So we have a weekend warrior, the team rotates through it, but I take 2 weekends a month right now. Got to do what we got to do in this market. But I'm available this weekend to work on your pre-approvals. Every Monday, they get a market update from me via email through BombBomb. Every Thursday, they get a phone call from me, and it's inviting them to something. So when we call a real estate agent, this is what we have to do. You have to teach them something, invite them to something, or hold them accountable to something that is important to their business. That's what it is. If you're going to call them, we're not following up, we're not checking in, we're not trying to see how they are, right? Like, we are inviting them to something, we're teaching them something, or we're holding them accountable to something in their business. And then I'm following, so I do 20 comments, direct messages, and DMs 3 times a week through favorites on Facebook and Instagram. And what's really cool is there's actually a way that you can completely resort your feed to the favorites, the people that you're wanting to engage with on social media, specifically Instagram and Facebook. Deborah can talk about this, you know, for miles. But what that's doing is warming up the relationship, right? And then when I'm calling and inviting to things, it's opening up the doors. And I'm teaching 3 classes a month right now. So like next week specifically, I've got a market update class for real estate agents virtually. I'm teaching a first-time home buyer class on the same day. On Tuesday, I have an Instagram class that I'm teaching, and that's sponsored by a title company. And then that Thursday, there's a huge group of Keller Williams real estate agents. I'm teaching them how to create video, upload it to their database, and then send it out to their database with market updates. And so, I don't know, there's probably 200 agents that I'm going to be in front of next week through classes, but I'm teaching 3 classes a month, every single month. And it's really easy to do. When you're calling an agent, you've got a pitch, you invite them to the event, they say yes, they say no, but you call them the next week and you're just staying in front of them, inviting them to events, trying to add value.
Deborah, I know you've added some things in chat that I want to make sure you call out.
I'm so proud of Keith. Yay, this is what I call actually prospecting, leveraging social media. So what you said that you did, setting up your favorites feed, guys, you can do this on Instagram and Facebook. I did drop a YouTube tutorial video of my click-by-click keystroke of how to do this. Essentially, it's putting your highest priority people in one group so that every morning you just, instead of by default going to your following, you can change the view to just favorites. And like Keith said, we should all make a daily non-negotiable goal of doing 20 likes, 20 comments on other accounts. Again, these are people on your favorites feed. And the comments shouldn't be just like a thumbs up emoji. Like, you want it to be a genuine, something that you've noticed. Yeah, something thoughtful. And this is all in, if a little plug to Win by Noon. If you guys get the Loan Officer Edition or Mortgage Coach Edition, Win by Noon Planner, we added these social media activities of how to prospect. There you go. Ooh, see, no wonder why you're winning right now. You're changing the game. You're marketing on offense. Good. But guys, that really matters. That engagement sends signals to the algorithms, and it says you guys have a relationship so that your content will go in front of them without having to pay for it. So, make sure that you're prospecting with purpose on social and leveraging social instead of just letting it use you, which is oftentimes what I see. So good job, Keith.
I love it.
Todd, anything you
So-
want to add or ask?
Go for it, Tom.
Well, I mean, I just love it. So Keith, when you're doing your bomb market update, is that, how long is that? Is it a short thing? Is it slides? I mean, how prepped are you?
Less
for
than a
that?
minute. So less than a minute.
And are you
So
talking
less
about
than a minute.
interest
It's got a
rates?
couple of components in it. Yeah. So, well, I don't even
Walk us
talk
through it.
about rates. What I do is I just use OB. So I actually do the OB widget, which shows you, the average mortgage interest rate across 45% transactions from the previous week. And it's, it has all that. So that's just a widget. And I'll see actually agents share that. It has a link to the Instagram videos that I did the previous week with the scripts. And then for me, it's like a less than a minute market update. What's going on, something quick, and the either something to help them that week to market or something that they just need to know that happened the previous week.
Okay.
Hey, and real quick, I want to call out that
Yep.
widget is
Widget.
in the Rate
Yep.
Watch app. So if you're a mortgage coach in your Rate Watch app, it's mortgage market indices. Pick that.
Yeah.
And then I also wanted to call out, it's also built into our advice engine. So if you're in a client, there's a menu over here and it has that information, so just as a heads up, if you do it from the app, there's a button when you're there, you can actually click share and you can copy it to a clipboard. So you could add it to anything, you can text it, email it, or Facebook it all from right there. So just a little product
Love that.
reminder that is built into our platform everywhere.
We use that a lot for
Trust Engine
rate
crushing
proof
it.
with clients. Sorry, we can say, Todd.
I just said Trust Engine crushing it. Sorry, Keith, go ahead.
Yeah, no, we use that for rate proof with clients a lot. If a client asks about an interest rate, we just show that up and say, hey, look, this is the locked interest rate across 46% of all transactions in America. And we're lower than that. And just kind of walk them through that conversation.
No, great strategy. Also, another little optimal blue nugget. Right now, price exceptions are averaging 80 basis points, guys. So optimal blue, says, again, they're not saying all loans are getting exceptions, but when there is a PE, they're saying on our network, on average, it's 80 basis points. Guys, that's insane. And a lot of those are most of those, more than 50% are completely unnecessary if you just use a total cost analysis and you give family options. And when you do get an exception, you negotiate with best practices. I just got another case study that we'll be announcing publicly probably next week from Churchill Mortgage. And they reported that their 30 biggest users of MortgageCoach are 51 basis points more profitable than their loan officers who aren't using MortgageCoach with every loan or with every credit report. So guys, like massive profitability boosters for the industry. Keith, what other strategies do you want to drill down on today and kind of describe? And community, remember, ask Keith questions.
Yeah. So I think it's really with the events, and that's where I think that we're having a lot of success with it. We've got a little niche to this event. I got a couple of my loan officers that are doing it, and I think it's really providing an opportunity. So, and then we can get into the house hacking stuff. So most agents want to do a first-time homebuyer class. They want to do a building wealth through real estate class. Like they would love to teach one, have one, put it on, do the whole thing. But kind of the barrier of entry of the weight is the pressure of filling a room. And most don't do it because of that. It's dedicating 40% of your time to try to, get and fill a room with, 20, 30 clients to make it seem successful and get business out of it. So they just don't do it, or they try it once and it sucked and they never do it again. So what we've done is, we haven't downsized space yet. We're trying to, but gosh, renegotiating leases takes a while. So, most of us have really nice conference rooms and we're not using them. And so I said, well, what if we go to a group of real estate agents and we say, hey, look, we're going to do a first-time homebuyer class for you. We're going to provide all the branding for you, right? You'll have an Instagram post, a Facebook post, and a flyer. You can brand it as your event, and then I'll teach it. And if we can get 30 agents to commit to just bringing one person to the class, now all of a sudden we have a first-time homebuyer class that when you RSVP to this thing. It's like, holy cow, there's 22 people that have signed up for this thing already. You show up to it, there's a bunch of energy, there's people there, it's successful. And then the agent can add this to their marketing, right? It doesn't become 50% of what they're doing over the next 30 days. It's 15% of what they're doing. They put it in their newsletter. They post a couple times about it. Anytime they're at open house, they're telling people about it. It becomes their branding that you're kind of providing for them. And then you just show up, provide a book, provide pizza and some drinks, and teach a class. And so one of my loan officers I work with, she did this. The first time she did it, she had 44 RSVPs, 41 people signed up. And then I did one 2 weeks ago. My first one that I did, we had 26 people show up to the first one. And so it's working. The agents are excited about it. They're marketing it. And the cool thing is I've got 36 real estate agents that so far have signed up for the first time homebuyer one, but I've called 200. And some are getting back to me, some aren't. So it's an opportunity to get in front of agents, but also provide value on something that, like, every agent wants to do this. They just don't do it because of the work that it takes. But if you can put it together for them, it works out really well. So I can show, I don't know if you guys want to comment on that or not, but I can show kind of what we've done from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah, well, I definitely want to drill down on that. Deborah or Todd, do you want to comment or drill down on that before he gets into it?
I just want to highlight the fact that it kind of like what Todd said, putting yourself in a path of opportunity, that focus on the things that you can control right now, and just being able to have something of value to pick up the phone and call your agents and ask if they would be interested in doing an event like this, or giving them a reason to call their database or call people because you guys are hosting an event. So it's more of the at-bats that you can create, less about how many actually RSVP and show. I mean, that is still important, but don't forget about the opportunity created by just having something of value to now reach out and say, either pre-event and post-event. So there's strategies for both sides.
Absolutely.
Love it.
I got to share screen. Let me show you something here real quick. Go jump into
Yeah,
this.
show us anything you want.
All right, so here's Canva. So this is the invite that we created for the agents. And so it's actually, once it's all created, it's pretty simple, right? So you got a first time home buyer workshop, got the agent's information here, it's got their confirmation, their picture. But as we just put it together, it's not a lot of work once it's all kind of set up. And so we've created a marketing for them that they're going to go out and post to their social media, right? So there's literally no reason why they wouldn't do this. Like, I'm going to give you the Instagram post. I'm going to give you the Facebook post. I'm going to give you the flyer. I'm going to teach a freaking class, provide the pizza and the books. All you got to do is invite people to this thing, right? And agents need reasons to reach out to their people right now. And it's an easy thing to do. So, yeah, here it is here. We're also doing the wealth building one. So on the wealth building one, this is the actual, so this is what it looks like for the Facebook post. Where is it? Oh, these are a bunch of different graphics that we put together. I don't know where the wealth building one is. And then it's just a simple first time homebuyer class that we've put together. It's not too difficult. There's an information slide, why buy instead of rent. And I don't know how much you want me to go through on this, but it's a simple class that we teach. It's fun. I have a great time teaching the class. We make some jokes, people come. Again, we had the first one that we did. I had maybe 2.5 weeks of run up on this, and I had 25, 26 people show up, plus all the agents. I mean, the room was packed. It was energetic. People were excited about it. I also had two pretty big teams that attended it because they wanted to see what it was all about before they were actually going to go invite their people to it, if that makes sense, right? They were like, hey, before I go press this out, I want to see really if you are what you say you are. They came to it, big teams came to it and said, yeah, afterwards, we're absolutely going to get on board. I just wanted to show this. This is the image that I create anytime I teach the class to real estate agents. I was talking about it. This is, we make sure that we're always talking about, when to think of me, because you got to tell them.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So you guys can all take a screenshot of that. You can see what Keith is doing. I interviewed Sean Herrero. I don't know if it was a week or 2 weeks ago. It was actually part of the 10X program. So if you go to trustengine.com/10X, it's down here. And he was presenting to, he did a presentation, and we broke down an event he did with 165 realtors. So different than what Keith's doing, but getting the attention of realtors, delivering strategy at realtors. Keith, one of the things Sean did in his training is he was actually showing a couple TCAs to help explain some strategies to help sell homes in this market. Do you, is a mortgage coach TCA part of any of your, workshops?
gonna sound bad. It's not. And the reason it's not is because I wasn't trying
Okay.
to, I wasn't, and it's not because it's the TCA, it's the payment. What I was trying to do is teach people different ways to think differently about real estate. Like, I mean, this one here's for first-time homebuyers, right? So we're talking to first-time homebuyers about what is escrow, what's title, right? The different down payment assistance programs in the market. But I didn't want to show them that a $400,000 home, has a $4,000 payment or whatever in this first meeting. I'm just trying to get them excited about the idea. So we didn't actually go over a lot of payment stuff. We went over, the down payment assistance that they could potentially get in Middle Tennessee. What's a VA home loan, right? What do you need to focus on with credit? I do the investing one, which is building wealth through real estate. We're not calling it first time investor because sometimes they're accidental landlords. And I don't want to discount somebody who has multiple investment properties thinking about how to buy the next one. That one, we're going to go in more in detail on strategy, house hacking, college savings hack, college tuition hack, that kind of stuff. And those definitely will have TCAs involved in that.
Yeah, let's talk about, house hacking, because let's face it, there's an affordability crisis. I'm actually interviewing Josh Metal coming up, and the headline that he picked was affordability by Josh Metal. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing what he's going to do. But I know that house hacking, which, by the way, by definition, everyone, in the most recent interview this Tuesday, the definition that was laid out for house hacking was that you're buying a house that you plan to, or a property, could be units, that you plan to live in, and that you're relying on other income, rental income, to support the purchase of that home. House hacking. So walk us through some ideas there, some strategies, some things that you're doing.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. So, you've got your traditional house hacking that a lot of people are talking about, especially right now with some of the Fannie Mae changes and the FHA changes, where, you buy a multi-unit home, live in one home, right? Like people say, hey, if I were to do it all over again, I would have bought a 4-unit property, do an FHA financing, live in 1 unit, rent out the other 3 units, stay in that a year, and then, buy the next home 5% down conventional. That's kind of the traditional, house hack that I think everybody's talking about right now. FHA just released some guidelines, which are great, where we can now use, because Freddie did, but now FHA does, where you can use the proposed ADU income as income on the application to help someone qualify for a home loan on an FHA transaction. They went so far as to say if it's attached, so if it's actually like a basement unit or garage conversion, we can use 50% of it. So I think that's a great house hack where you've got an accessory dwelling unit, or you're buying a multi-unit property, you're living in 1 unit, and then you're renting the other unit out to generate some rental income and to offset the overall payment or cover all of it, right? And then also just build wealth. You can do that literally every year, once a year, right? You just live in the home for a year and buy it again. I've talked to first-time home buyers that have put 20% down, and I tell them, it's like, I think one of my jobs is to potentially help you think about things that maybe you wouldn't have thought about before. That's not to say that you're going to do them, but I want to suggest some things to you. And I wonder what it would look like if instead of you put 20% down on this one purchase, you bought 4 properties over the next 4 years, just putting 5% down on each. And then show them kind of like what their net worth might look like and what it might look like to go through that. But that's more the traditional sense. There's 2 things that I'm like really excited about from a house hacking standpoint. The first one is I call it the college tuition hack. So let's just take like LSU, for example. So in-state, out-of-state tuition on LSU is $30,000 a year. In-state tuition is $12,000. You just need to be a resident of the state to qualify for in-state tuition. So if you can get with your parents potentially, right? So your parents co-sign on a home. So at LSU, you can buy a home within 10 miles of the college for $300,000, and it's a 3-bedroom property. So you could literally save the down payment in the first year college tuition savings by buying a home, living in 1 unit. The college kid lives in the unit, parents co-sign, right? I hope we all understand how to put that all together. The parents co-sign for the property. You get owner-occupied terms, owner-occupied interest rates, and then they rent the other 2 rooms out to offset the total mortgage payment. It's an owner-occupied transaction. And that's how, there's a drastic difference between in-state tuition and out-of-state tuition. And there's a lot of parents right now that have children that are about to go to college. So you put them on your, you take if you're a parent and you're in that space, put your kid on your credit card as an authorized user to help them build credit, right? And then when we're looking at wherever they're going to go, let's go ahead and maybe buy a property in that state. And then do that from a traditional house hacking standpoint or college tuition savings. If that makes sense. I think it's massive.
No, it's massive, and guys, and that's another uphill skill. Like when we've been running downhill, being proactive, getting out there and creating demand, getting to families sooner, wasn't the skill that loan officers have. By the way, we should have always had that skill. Families plan for death. That's what financial planners do. Sell life insurance. They talk about planning to fund college education, but people are not proactively talking about, hey, what's your homeownership plan for your kids? And you can have a homeownership plan for your kids that not only helps them achieve homeownership younger and faster and really set them up in the for the future life, but could pay for their college education as well. So
Make them rich in the future.
on this Tuesday I interviewed Cody Touche, and it was called House Hacking with Cody Touche. I'm going to put a link to that down below, because this is a thing that not only is it super important here at Trust Engine and Mortgage Coach that we want to get loan officers, the skills and the expertise to have this conversation with their families, but it's also part of the First Home IQ mission. And so you're actually seeing a lot of the First Home IQ ambassadors. That's one of the skills that we're teaching them, and that we're seeing a lot of them advocate, is just getting out to families, and talking about what's your home ownership plan for your kids. Todd, anything you want to add to this before we keep rolling?
Well, I'm an example of what Keith just taught, right? We didn't do it for in-house or for in-state tuition, but I went to U of A. I bought a house, 3/4 mile from school. My parents did a gift of the down payment for FHA. And that was the first domino for me. And now it's over 24 investment properties. I own that property. I moved out, I rented it out. And then I did a 1031 exchange and bought more property up in Phoenix when I moved from Tucson back up here. And so it's one of those things. And the funny part about it is that I learned about money from my parents, but not how to build wealth from my parents. But that was the one thing that they did that has changed the trajectory of my financial life, right? I mean, I'm have wealth because of that one move that they did, and all the other dumbass things I've done over the last 30 years. My real estate portfolio isn't one of them. It's the one thing that's actually shined through all of it.
That's awesome, man.
Well, and I want to point out too, I love the scripting that you used, Keith, when you said, part of your job is to get them to think about some things that maybe they wouldn't have thought on their own.
About before.
And just that perspective changer that you provided also shows your worth and your value. Like, this is where there's the difference between the advisors and the true sales professionals than just the sleazy salesmen, so to speak, because that is our job here. And so when you can shift perspective or get people to start thinking differently, they're very grateful for that, because you're, one, teaching them something new, but also helping them grow wealth, which is what everybody wants. And not everyone has had the same opportunity of certain lessons, because First Home IQ wasn't around then. So hopefully First Home IQ changes that moving forward. But that framing and that scripting that you did up front was extremely powerful and gets people to listen as well. So just wanted to point that out.
And Keith, do you have a sample TCA or anything that you could show in terms of how you could communicate some of these strategies to both realtors and buyers and families of buyers?
I've got one that I put together. So Sean graciously showed me a hack on a TCA that I didn't know that you could do. And so that's where I've always actually, we've done a couple thousand TCAs, but I've never really figured out how to show house hacking within a TCA. And so last night, Sean did a little video and he showed us it. So I've got one that I kind of put together here.
Real quick, before you do that, this was a cool story because, Keith was always part of the plan in this conversation to talk about house hacking. And he was doing that in total cost analysis, but there was there's two things he wasn't doing. And so Sean and myself and Keith had a little, text chat. And here's a little 1-minute video that Sean created. I just want you guys to all see this.
It's brilliant.
Hey guys, sorry, I don't have the 5% down multi-unit prepped yet. I'm running like a chicken with my head cut off today to get out of here tomorrow. So Keith, dude, super simple. Product, go down to monthly closing costs, other, put projected, you get it, right? Rental income, and then negative, let's just say, let's say it's a 4-unit. I'm gonna rent out 3 units at 2,000 each, so negative 6,000. And that then creates an offset to show them their net payment or net cash flow on the final presentation when you preview. So that's it. That's how I do that.
So guys, that's, by the way, that's one way to do it in a mortgage coach. We're going to see what Keith has done, but you could also take the positive income that someone's going to get. And I'll show an actual TCA from an interview that I did last year. And then Keith, get ready to show your TCA. But this was a TCA where it was actually a borrower who said, you know what, I'm going to wait. You know, rates have gone up too much. I'm not feeling it. And the loan officer said, hey, well, you know, you can house hack, you can rent out 2 of the bedrooms at $625, and then, you know, was able to put a buy down. You notice this is last year, so it's a little dated on rates, but you can see the net worth over 5 years. What Dan Keller was calling that 5-year net worth report. He was able to show this house hack net worth over 5 years because he put I think it was 12, or it was $625 per unit. So what's that? $1,250. He put in the asset accumulation, and then it showed, you know, the property appreciation and the asset accumulation appreciation. So Keith, how are you showing this? Let's see what you got.
Yeah, so just so people know, you can go into the analysis and you can do adjust reinvestment strategy. And then under adjust reinvestment strategy is where you're actually going to put in that additional revenue and then give it a return to grow. But right here, you know, if you're looking at, you know, FHA duplex, we just threw this together this morning because, again, I didn't know that you could do it. I just didn't think about it. Under monthly costs, it's right here. And so I've just plugged in monthly rent, and that's the projected rent of $1,800 from the other side. And then what I've done, and I'm just trying to compare it. I've got basically the same thing, you know, that I'm going to do side by side, one without the rent, the other one with the rent, just to show them kind of the difference in net payment. And then so when we look at this slide here, so when we look at the actual presentation itself, I got to figure out what to do with payments are equal here and put something different. But it's basically showing them, hey, if you buy a $500,000, you know, purchase, the mortgage payment's gonna be roughly $4,200. But with the rent offset, that payment's actually $2,438. And so I think it makes it a lot more affordable. And that's where, for me, I don't know if I'm going to throw it in there, just because, you know, I think a lot of people, especially with this house hacking, like, we're trying to figure a way to make housing more affordable. And I don't know how many people are actually going to take the difference and throw it in there, at least right now. Throw it into something that grows. They're really just trying to offset their total payment. But we bought a $500,000 home here that had a $4,200 payment. I showed them a way to buy a $500,000 home and really make it a $2,400 payment. And it doesn't have to be a 2-unit property. You could do this with an ADU, accessory dwelling unit, or an attached. But I think that's how it's going to be done. And then, you know, that's, again, I got to play with it and figure it out. You know, I'm playing with the whole net worth stuff. Again, we put this together this morning, but, you know, literally no net worth accumulation when they're putting in, you know, when they're renting. So what we probably would do is add the rental column here, and then show
do
them
a rent
like
versus own.
Rent versus zone associated with kind of a house hack with the 2-unit property, and then showing them how, like, this is what the mortgage payment is going to look like net once the property's rented.
Yeah, and you could also do this with a move-up buyer, where you're showing move-up strategies, and based off of renting out that home that they're in, you could, you know, either put that as an offset the way Keith did it, or you can put that in the asset accumulation. And then you'll see a net worth pop, because they're going from, let's say, a, you know, $400,000 or $500,000 home to a 6 or 7. And then, you know, at the end of the day, guys, uphill skill, show, you know, whether it's a first time home buyer, whether it's a move up buyer, be able to give them clarity and confidence, and help them vision cast based on appreciation rates. What does 5 years look like? What does 10 years look like? And then I do want to just remind everybody, you know, I've been doing Mortgage Coach 10X now for over 2 months. Not only do we have, you know, all of these 10X interviews, which this one with Keith is going to become part of, but underneath that, like, if you want to sign up for group coaching and learn how to do this, you know, every Wednesday we're doing this. Every Thursday we're doing Q&A. Just sign up for the next training on Wednesdays and Thursdays. For anyone that's new to Mortgage Coach, beginners are on Monday. And then remember, there's all kinds of videos below where you can learn how to do all this. So if you're new, you've got a resource. And if you're watching this and you don't have Mortgage Coach yet, you can sign up at that same page, trustengine.com/10x. All right, guys, we got 10 minutes left.
Okay. I got one more house hack.
Bring it.
Yeah. So one more. So this is something too that I think, and it's more on the like a shared equity agreement with your parents. So, there's a lot of conversation about potential recession, and then the interesting thing with real estate is versus, investment stocks, bonds, mutual funds, or whatever, is like you could literally invest in a stock and it could, tomorrow be worth 30% less. Where I don't think with good fundamentals, you're going to buy a piece of real estate, a single family home, and it's going to be worth 30% less tomorrow. And so, I think there's a lot of people that either have a lot of money in their brokerage account, they've got a lot of them in their 401k, parents, a lot of money in their 401k, a lot of equity in their property. They're just wondering what the heck to do with it. And they got kids that they're also wondering, I've got kids, right? And my kids are young, but I'm like, how the heck are these guys going to buy real estate in freaking 15 years? How are we going to do this for them? How are we going to help them? Because the amount that they're going to have to save to be able to buy the median home price at this time and how much they're going to have to make, like as a parent, I think about this. And so I know a lot of other parents are thinking about this. So what if we presented an opportunity for a parent to invest with their kids in housing? I have a client that has 3 kids and their plan is to do this like 6 times, because once again, you can do an owner occupied transaction, right? Like every year, you just, the mortgage note says it's your intent to occupy the property for 12 months. Beyond that, go do it again. So take money out of your brokerage account, grab the 20% down, 10% down, whatever it is, from your brokerage account, from your 401k, from the equity in your property through a second mortgage. Set up a shared equity agreement with your children. Teach them life fundamental skills, right? Buy a 4-bedroom property. They live in one unit. They rent out the other 3. Typically the unit, because a per unit, like renting the room is going to generate, and then adding that together is going to generate a lot more income than renting the total property, right? So rent the room out. They become a property manager. They learn to run a business, right? And then there's some sort of shared equity agreement with them, or not, but shared equity agreement with them that at a later date when the property's sold, the parent's going to get their initial capital investment back. They're going to get any capital investments they had to make during home ownership or the duration of the investment. And then at the end of the day, they sell and split it up. And the kids got seed money to go buy their next property, go start a business, get married, do whatever they're going to do. But what if they did this multiple times and then invested with their children to purchase real estate using owner-occupied guidelines, owner-occupied terms, owner-occupied interest rates, and with great residential fundamentals, in which the investment covered itself? Does that make sense? So I think there's a huge opportunity, because real estate agents like it's a life event right now, right? Like how do we create something for clients to grab on tangibly to create a transaction that wasn't there before, outside of a life event, right? Because right now it's a life event. Someone dies, someone gets divorced, someone moves, they get relocated. That's really like when we're looking at transactions, ask what's going on with the sellers. Often in this market, it's a life event that's forcing the seller to sell because their house hostage, they don't want to do it otherwise. So how do we create a real estate transaction? I think potentially this is one way to do this, is go to your real estate agents, create a strategy, teach a class, do an event, right? Get a bunch of your clients involved to talk to them about how they can co-invest with their children to generate wealth for themselves, but also their kids, right? Like for me too, just with this is like, if I can do anything I can to keep my kids motivated to stay close to me, as opposed to move away for cheaper housing, I'm in, right? And I think this is the way potentially to do that as well. So I think this is an awesome opportunity under the guise of house hacking to create a transaction that wasn't there before. And at the very least, be a person that stands out in a very muddied water with some value that no one else is talking about.
I love this strategy for so many reasons. First of all, it gives a distinct advantage to all the trust engine mortgage coaches out there. Like, you are sitting with a weapon to visualize this, show this to consumers so that they get it. Like, they understand the long-term value of this strategy, and you're dollarizing it. This is a great niche to go to all your realtors and say, hey, I can help your families make better decisions around supporting their kids into homeownership. And just imagine if you and realtors, started doing webinars around this and started, messaging it massed. And then of course, this is an incredible first home IQ strategy, Todd. We need to, I'm going to make some micro content around what you just said and probably promote that both through Trust Engine community as well as Firsttime IQ community. Deborah and Todd, any comments on that? Any questions for Keith on this strategy?
Well, so it just highlights the fact that you're running different plays and you're running plays that work. And so when a lot of people, I hear clients talk about buyers on the fence. There's a lot of loan officers on the fence where you're almost waiting for the market to get better. And if you're just going to sit and wait for the market versus like Keith, he's creating a market, he's creating transactions by having these, perception changers or paradigm shifts for people and doing this proactively on offense. This is what I mean is the difference of, are you on offense or defense? And it's time to full court press. It's fourth quarter, like pedal to the metal, take market share. This is how you're going to do it. And so I love that example, Keith. Thank you for sharing it. And I think it also supports a lot of the mission and kind of bigger purpose of a lot of the loan officers in this community of wanting to help people build wealth through real estate. This is proof.
So you all have a little bit of a homework assignment, which is to look at the things that Keith talked about and create the examples in your area. Because I'm in Tempe, Arizona. I live half a mile from Arizona State University. Well, I know that if you're going to live within a mile of the university, it's 500K. So, I'd have to create examples for my school that way. I don't know what the rule is. How long do you have to live here in order to be able to claim it as your primary to get in-state tuition? And so you all have some homework to figure out how do you do these things, right? You said 1 year, Keith?
Yeah, it's 1 year. Typically with most states, if you're in state, if you're an occupant of the state for 1 year, now all of a sudden you're in-state tuition. So take a buy year.
Perfect. So think about these things. And then just do the work, right? Figure out what the numbers need to look like. What could you rent a room for near the university near you if you had to rent a room? There's a realtor, guess what? You can pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, can you help me understand this business? Because they're in that business. There's a property manager that or can learn to meet who probably knows this information. And guess what property managers have? They have houses that are owned by investors who want to buy more property. They have houses that are actually rented that have renters in them. My first big referral source was a property manager. And I got a lot of business from the property manager over the years. And so I think there's just opportunity to take what Keith talked about. But the first step of taking action is doing the research. And then the second step is to actually start having the conversations around the action that you created. Because that's really what it boils down to. It boils down to is that right now is an opportunity for all of us to pick up the phone and create relationships, create ideas, and do what Keith said, right? Just do it differently. I mean, I think that I just love it, Keith. I mean, I always say it. I just can remember the first times that we all chatted in the meteoric, the person that you've become over the years by putting in the work is just so impressive. And I applaud you for doing it. I applaud you for sharing it. I'm super grateful for, your friendship and what you pour into this community. And just, I just know because you've worked hard to get there. You didn't, people are always worried, hey, well, he's Keith Collins, he can do it. Listen, I remember nerdy Keith Collins, who wasn't the Keith Collins that you're all seeing today. He's put in the work and you can too.
All right, guys.
Sorry,
So
Keith, I had to say it.
So my work for everyone is to get good at the conversation that Keith just had. And if you do that, have that conversation, you create a total cost analysis around it. I am looking to share success stories where we're leaning into families, we're helping them, not selling them like you need to do this, but we're helping them get clarity and confidence as to whether this makes sense to them. And for a lot of folks, it's going to make sense, and it's going to create opportunities for both the family, but also for real estate agents. You're going to get their attention, you're going to get their business. So Deborah, any closing thoughts?
No, just make sure you're following Keith on social and, go take action, like go run your own plays and make it happen. Put yourself on a path of opportunity. Let's go. Let's do it.
All right, Keith, you get the last thought. Any closing thoughts from you?
Yeah, I said this to my loan officers on Tuesday, and I had a couple call me afterwards, and they said like thanks for sharing that. So this market's tough. I think it's just tougher than we want it to be. In 2020, 2021, 50% of the effort got 150% of the results. And now 150% of the effort gets 50% of the results. And that's the same for everybody. It's the same for me. It's the same for, for Josh Metal. It's the same for everybody. Like everybody is in that space where we're putting out way more effort for substantially less results. So it's not just you that is happening to, right? Like you haven't lost your spark. People still like you. They still want to work with you, even though you're getting rate shopped like crazy. I mean, we got 3 transactions in yesterday. I've already lost 2 of them. It's the freaking market. That's what it is. So I think it's just important to say, like those people that we're looking up to in the marketplace, they're having those thoughts, right? They're like, do people not want to work with anymore? Should I get in a different industry? No, this industry is just that tough right now. But if we have these strategies in place to go on the offense and take market share, like, because right now it's a market share game, that's it. It's not direct results, it's market share. I am stacking real estate agents for 2024 like I never have before. And it's easier than I ever have before because I'm the person that has a unique strategy that others don't. So I just want to encourage people that, like, you're not on an island. Those thoughts aren't unique to you, but you've got to come up with a strategy and go out and sell and like tell the world about it.
All right. So my closing thought, guys, I keep a little note of MMI data that I've been collecting since 2020 on, how many loan officers are doing different levels of loan. And there are 7,093 loan officers doing over 100 loans a year right now.
Yep.
And there's over 1,000 doing over 200 loans this year. There's 42,000 doing 30 to 100 loans this year. There's 18,000 doing over 60. So here's the deal, guys. There are people winning in this market. And then I do want to paint a picture, because the market will turn and rates will come down. I don't know if they'll come into the 4s, but they'll come into the 5s again. And the housing market is going to heat up, and there will be a healthy purchase market. There will be some refis all going at the same time. Like there is a really exciting road ahead, but we got to get to the bottom. And while we're getting to the bottom, let's develop the skills and the mentality of an uphill runner. Like, and the things that we talked about today are the skills and habits, status quo lending, where here's a fee worksheet and I'm selling interest rates. Guys, rates are never going to be awesome. They're never going to be the best that they were. So we went a few minutes over, but Keith Collins, you rock, bro. Thank you. Deborah and Todd, it's always good. And everybody, this is a wrap. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Have a blessed one, y'all.